Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Mega Maker. During the last part, I covered 6 levels that I found on the Mega Maker official forum's level showcase subforum. So in this part, I'll be covering only one level. Why one level, you ask? Because this level is gargantuan, based off my readings and the initial description. And the level in question is Hidden Treasures of the Snake King, Find 10 Secret Tanks by Brickman with 14 plays and a score of 2. I already know it's gargantuan based off the loading time. The first time I tried doing this it took 4 to 5 minutes to load up. And based off of one other person who played it, they did tip me off about some things I should take note of if I want to complete this stage properly. Because the trick about this stage, other than the fact it's huge and it's an exploratory stage, one of the few exploratory stages I covered in Mega Maker, the other one being the Night Castle or Night Core by Joe, which had 4 alternate pathways. In this one, you need to collect the 9 E-tanks and 1 M-tank that are scattered about the stage, and several of them are hidden in rather sneaky locations. My person who informed me about the stage said about 2 or 3 of them are rather in jerkest places. And you need to pay special attention for collecting the M-tank, which I'll get into right about now. This was originally intended to be merged in with the rest of the viewer-submitted levels, but because it's so large, I decided to give it its own level to stand out, or its own part. So in the next part will be a viewer-submitted level focused part. 6 levels in total. And as always, if you want one of your levels to be featured in a part like this one, please leave the level name or preferably the level ID in the comment section below or direct message me on Twitter. And as always, the full disclaimer of this entire LP series is linked in the description below. I would also provide timestamps, but there's only one level. When it says find the code here, pay very careful attention to where the E-tanks and M-tank are stored, specifically what spike type they're next to. It can get a little bit confusing memorizing it because even though the spike types are different, most players don't memorize the 9 or 10 different types of spikes that are present in the levels. Here you need to pay careful attention to it, so I will use the screen capture utility in order to make it a bit easier. Also, I did try out the level first to make sure it loaded up, and thankfully it did. Sorry for not playing this level earlier. This level was submitted about 5 or 6 parts ago, but I wanted to make sure that it had its own part, plus I kind of shy away from the more difficult levels. I don't mind the longer levels, but it doesn't really work out with my limited time frame for editing and recording these videos. I don't hate them, it's just that it requires quite a bit of time commitment. One thing I've immediately noticed about the stage is that the level author is rather generous in terms of checkpoints and energy pickups. Seriously, we just started the stage and a few screens in and we're here. But I suppose it's understandable because we're going to be exploring a lot of areas. Also, I set an auto-fire key for my controller so I can work with it better. Although it's a little bit glitchy with how Mega Maker accepts the inputs though. Phew, that was close. After all, there are lasers everywhere. Also, I tried recording this earlier, and I got up to here, but then the recording got corrupted for some reason. Here's a sneaky trick. Apparently there was actually ladders here, and somehow I glitched through and died. That's not intended. Essentially, there are hidden ladders over there that prevent you from falling into the force beams. That's a neat trick I haven't seen used in Mega Maker yet, so bravo for creativity. Oh, I probably held down over there and I glitched through. That makes more sense. So instead I'll just use a slide shortcut. So this is a creative way of juking us out or tricking us into thinking this is instant death when in reality it isn't. Also, you see the top over there? Those actually indicate where the instant death pits are. It's like the second half of Brian Man's stage with the mirror gimmick, or the other level in Mega Man Endless with the mirror gimmick, so bravo for adding that. And so, here's the second energy element. Do you notice the spike over there and 2 over there? That's going to be really important later on. So, you're supposed to memorize it, but instead of doing it, I'll just take a screenshot of it and put it into an image utility so I can merge it into something else later. I will need to pay attention to this for getting the M-Tank from what I've heard. And if you forget it, well, you have to go back all the way here and check what the code is. But as I said, some of the positioning of the E-Tanks are rather problematic, is what I heard. Also, there's a secret down here. My confidant also tipped me off that there were some secrets hidden off in rather off-putting locations. There are actually 2 energy elements, or should I say E-Tanks, that I can find over here. And this one's a little bit more suspicious because the bottom force beam, it comes out later than the top ones. That's how you know there's some secret. And now we're introduced to this charge kicks segment. Oh boy, I hate these ones, especially with the engine's precision issues. So because of that, I'm going to be editing out most of the failures for this one. I expect there to be a lot of jump cuts repeatedly failing on these challenges, and trying to figure out where the secrets are. Well, after failing at that previous segment about 10 times, I made it here. 9 out of 10 of the failures were due to precision issues, or rather, the fact that my button inputs were dropped. 1 out of 10 of them was me more like failing. This is a thing I keep railing on this game engine, the fact that button inputs are dropped. Oh, I see what the gimmick of this is. Each of those teleporters correlates to a different board of sorts, and so we need to be on the other side of each board in order to survive and not get killed by the spikes. Let's go right for a change. Let's go down and see where that leads us to. Oh. Well, we needed to go down here if we wanted to open up the gate on the other side. I have a hunch where I need to go to. I think I need to take the left route and go as high as up as possible to the middle teleport over there, if I want to get to the other side. And my assumption was right, that was a clever puzzle. More props to the level creator, Brickman. And that's the 5th one, or should I say the 2nd one. But as always, I'll now be taking a screenshot, just to be sure. So, 8 things left to go. Or rather, 7 E-Tanks and 1 M-Tank. I keep calling the E-Tanks energy elements because I've been playing so much Magmal 2. It was informed to me by a viewer. The next E-Tank is right over here, actually. You totally wouldn't expect it to be here, but in reality, it is. So, E-Tanks can be placed in really off-putting locations, or rather non-standard locations, so you gotta keep a really careful eye if you want to actually complete the stage properly. Some would say this is a more jerkish maneuver, and, well, this stage is designed for people who are more obsessive explorers. Again, dropped button inputs. I keep ranting about this over and over because this is the biggest issue of Mega Maker I see, and the main thing that stops me from playing Mega Maker more often. At last, after 6 more deaths, I made it past this segment. Again, dropped button inputs. The main problem of this engine that I'll constantly complain about, and Etterville complains about Mega Maker. I'm sorry. Whoa. This is a bit of a blind jump there because you need to do an air jump with the charge kick. At least there's frequent checkpoint placement, and there's always life pickups or energy pickups when you need it. Several blind jumps here, kind of scary. This one isn't. I did it too early here, that was my fault. At least for this segment, it's a lot more fair. But to be fair, even for the previous segment, there was frequent checkpoint placement, so it wasn't too bad. But as I said, this stage is really brought down more by engine issues, and due to other design decisions I'll get to. And there's the 7th one, that should be the 4th one, and as always, screenshot time. I'll attach a screenshot with all of the spike combinations so you don't need to go through the entire stage like this. If my commenter didn't actually inform me about several of the secret locations, I would have gotten stuck here a lot more often. This stage really promotes you to think outside the box, that's for sure. And this is another one of those locations where if you're not careful, you won't be able to actually access the next E-tank. See before in that previous screen how you had unlocked vertical scrolling and now you don't? The next E-tank is right over there. I wouldn't have guessed it was right over there unless my confidant actually told me that. But of course, in order to do that, you need to bounce up there. How do you bounce up there? You need to take all these enemies to the left and use the top spin to bounce up there. If you miss even one of them, you won't be able to make the jump. And I gotta be careful not to despawn them either. Let's do this. A little bit of stuttering motion here. You needed all of them in order to make that jump, or of course you could go by with one less of them, but then you need to use a charge kick at the proper moment. Once again, all of the brief pauses are because of me just taking screenshots. That should be the 50 tank. 4 left to go. And yes, we need to know the code if you want to access the M tank. It's mandatory. And there's a little bit of backtracking required in order to access it. Thankfully, the enemy configurations aren't that bad, and there's checkpoints everywhere and pickups and restoration items everywhere as well. So dying isn't too frustrating. It's just finding where all the secret E-tanks are placed. I don't mind the more exploratory stages like Night Core, but this one is really designed for a specific audience because it's mandatory to collect all 9 E-tanks in one M-tank, and it really forces you to pay attention to where everything is and explore the rest of the stage, and really think of non-standard ways of accessing things. You saw that with the Red Force Beam segment. As well as the segment where you had to jump on that charge kick precision sliding segment. You need to jump over the level and then you access the Yoko block over there. I mean E-tank. So it really promotes out-of-the-box thinking here, but that may not be preferable for a lot of players. Honestly, if this was in Magmal 2, if this was a contestant stage, this would definitely be given a skip teleporter. Especially because of how unforgiving it is, because if you spend even one E-tank, you basically screw yourself up and you're forced to restart the entire stage. If anything, one way to make the stage easier is to make the M-tank an optional item. That way it would become a lot less frustrating. I do like how each segment has their own gimmicks, but still, the rest of the stage with exploration is kind of overly harsh. But then again, it was explicitly stated in the description that this is a harder stage, so I guess it's forgivable in some way. Well, I guess we have another leap of fate to do. Let's see where this takes us. Right into the first one. Yeah, you need to make a leap of fate here if you want to make this jump. So this should be the 60 tank. 3 left to go. So back down we go, and there is one more secret, I believe, or I believe on the other side. I should have just used the checkpoint. So I've explored most of the left side of the stage, and now I'm moving on to the right side. Oh neat, I have a hunch there's a secret here too. But in order to do it, I need to get on top of that top spin. Somehow. Easier said than done though, so I'll respawn that platform. And jump up here and fail again. I don't have any way to attack enemies upwards, and I screwed it up again because I despawned it. I need to keep respawning the right one if I want to have any hopes of killing that enemy. I have auto-fire controlling, so that makes it easier, but if you don't, you're going to have to respawn the right telly, or should I say hothead, several times. And be careful not to get squished by there. And now we have the 70 tank. Only 2 left to go. Wow, my throat is drying out for this stage. I'm suspicious. There's probably an E-tank in the middle of here. But I need to be at the right time, and yep, my assumption was right. So there's only one E-tank remaining. So let's take this teleporter back and see where it takes us. Let's backtrack through here and see where it leads us to. I get the feeling I went through a segment in reverse. And the last thing my commenter told me, well, 2 things, are that the fact there is an E-tank over here hidden somewhere. Somewhere under one of these Shadow Man platforms. And I can't proceed onwards because I need one more E-tank and an M-tank. And in order to figure out which one it is, you need to lead this prop top back. At least there's a visual indicator of where the enemy is coming from though. Before in other stages or for some of the other secrets it wasn't obvious where it was. So I do appreciate that. If you're wondering why I'm taking the right route, that's because the commenter said if I took the left route of accessing it, I could end up soft-locking myself. Or rather, I wouldn't be able to complete the stage properly. I still find it neat that I've become immune to the green force beams when I'm actually using the charge kick. Okay, take me to where the secret is. Aha, it's right over here. Surrounded by spikes, of course. This is the 3rd and last E-tank. And just like the rest of them, I'll be taking a screenshot of it. I now have the code. Of course, the next step is figuring out where to enter the code. Now, I thoroughly explored almost all of the parts of the stage, but there's one portion left that I haven't explored yet. This is the last area of the stage I didn't explore. Well, there's one more area, but it leads up to an E-tank that I already collected. See this ladder up here? What that commenter told me is that once you enter this room, either from the top or bottom, you cannot enter this teleporter again. So if you haven't gotten the M-tank, well, you're out of luck and you need to restart the stage. Yeah, that commenter was really cranky with that one. So, I didn't take the upper route on the right because it leads up to the croaker, the water room you saw earlier. But if I did that, I'd probably get stuck, so I didn't want to take a chance. Now, where does this teleporter take us to? This room. Remember what I was said about the code? And the fact that all of those different E-tanks had different numbers on them from 1 through 9, and they had a spike next to them? Well, the top thing over there is indicating what code we need to enter in order to access the M-tank. And this is where the real jerkish maneuver is. In order to access this room, or first of all, you only have one way of accessing it and then you get stuck. At least that's what I think. That's what the commenter told me, or PMR told me. Unless that was changed in the engine. So because of that, you need to collect all 9 E-tanks first, but you only have one shot getting in, otherwise you'll have to restart the stage. But then, because of that, you need to memorize all of the spikes and their corresponding numbers, which can be quite challenging because most people wouldn't pay attention to that, or they'll only memorize a few of the numbers. So this stage really forces you to pay attention if you want to get the code, but even then, if you want to brute force it, good luck. I believe you have 9 factorial ideas or 9 factorial combinations, so you'll be stuck for a while. It would be faster to just replay the stage and collect all the E-tanks again. Thankfully, that's why I took screenshots of all the codes. So if you're having trouble with the stage, here's the code. So on the top left, that spike corresponded to the second energy element. That spike, the second one, corresponded to the 5th E-tank. I keep miscalling the E-tanks as energy elements. The 3rd spike up there corresponds to the 9th E-tank. The 4th spike up there corresponds to the 8th E-tank. The 5th spike up there corresponds to the 3rd E-tank. The 6th spike up there corresponds with the 4th E-tank. The 7th spike over there corresponds to the 1st E-tank. The 8th spike up there corresponds to the 7th E-tank. And last but not least, the 9th spike up there corresponds to the 6th E-tank. Oh goody, I was correct. From what I've heard, if you fail it, you're taking them all the way back to the beginning, and there's no visual indicator or difference between each room, so you can get stuck pretty easily. I wish there was an indicator indicating that each of those pass-through rooms were different. After all, one failure and you're taken back to the beginning, but there's no difference in the starting room, so that's definitely a flaw. I do like the gimmick of having a code, but seriously, it's quite difficult to memorize. I wouldn't have so much of a problem with it if it were not for the fact that the M-tank was mandatory for completing the stage. And you're taken all the way back up here, so that's nice. I just want to showcase this before I complete the stage. This is where we started with the stage, and this is where you go to right and end the stage. Now we need to go back to that point with all those 9 E-tanks and 1 M-tank indicating that we need to complete the stage. Once again, if you're having problems, you can check out this video and see what the code is, so you don't need to go through the hard part of it. I will put a timestamp for the codes breaking segment, that's for sure. So now we're back over here, and now we're closing up on the stage. As I've repeatedly stated in this part, at the beginning of the stage, in the middle, etc., you must have 9 E-tanks and 1 M-tank in order to complete the stage. If you consume 1, well, you screwed yourself over and you need to restart the stage all the way from the beginning. It's rather annoying, especially if you're not sure where all the E and M-tanks are located. I at least had the commenter who PM'd me of some of the more annoying or hidden locations, so I do appreciate that. And thankfully there's a checkpoint right over here and full life restore, you'll need it. So this is the final segment, do not move at all, otherwise you'll end up embedded in the spikes or something. See the 13 on the top left? That's indicating how far you are from the bottom, and here's the health gauge check. Whenever you see those E-tank monitors on the left and right part of the screen, that's your cue to use the appropriate canister. Let's just hope that this segment doesn't glitch out, or for some reason my inputs get dropped. And this is one way of making a forced E and M-tank check. But as I said, I would have preferred if the M-tanks were optional so that players didn't have to memorize the really complicated code. It's complicated in the sense that you have to memorize 9 different spike patterns and the correlations between it and the count bomb numbers. That's what would have made the stage more fun for me, but at least it's rather creative with the fact that each of the sections has their own gimmick and team. But some of the locations for the E-tanks are rather out there, and I already ranted enough about the M-tanks, or discussed about the M-tanks. But other than that, it would be my second favorite exploratory stage, but as I said, it's really for players who think outside of the box for Mega Maker levels, or Mega Man levels in general, as well as those who pay more attention to their surroundings and gimmicks. That should be the last thing, and we should make it. Yep, we did. That's it. We're now on the basement floor, hopefully things don't glitch out. And it didn't, thankfully. I thought it was going to be embedded into the spikes there. And we have a checkpoint. we've essentially completed the stage, but there's one thing left. Yep, we have the encounter against Cutman. That was quite surprising, actually. And I got telefragged by the Yoko blocks. Yep, that was a surprising moment. But considering all the unorthodox things at this stage pulled out some surprises, I didn't discount that would happen. His only weakness is of course the charge kick and my top spin, so that's going to make things a little bit more difficult as well. At least there's a distinct timing of when all the Yoko blocks are going to be spawning everywhere. At last, after 80 plus deaths, I finally defeated Cutman and completed this stage. Oh my goodness. Well, I have two things to say about this one. First up, for the level creator, this last boss fight against Cutman completely destroyed my goodwill and love for the stage. We had a pretty nice overall average to above average difficulty, maybe hard to somewhat hard with some of the segments where you need to learn how to use the charge kick and toss spin properly. But this fight, oh my goodness, this was such a huge difficulty bump in comparison to the previous parts of the stage. It's so hard that I don't think most players will be able to complete it properly. It took me 80 plus attempts to do this properly, because you need to learn how Cutman reacts to your patterns, and also because he's immune against the Mega Buster. If he wasn't immune against the Mega Buster, this would be so much easier. But because you have to use the charge kick or toss spin, and in addition to that, you have to be on your guard so you don't get telefragged by the Yoko blocks, and the fact it's kind of challenging in order to access the life pickups. Either you need to do a charge kick jump, or you need to bounce off of Top Man in the middle. Both of them can be quite challenging, especially with the Yoko blocks. It's so challenging, in fact, it's the most difficult boss fight I've ever faced in Mega Maker, by far. And because of that difficulty spike, I can't really give this stage a thumbs up. I was already kind of hesitant of giving the stage a thumbs up, especially because you had to be really attentive to the stage areas and find secrets in unorthodox ways. Like for example, the E-tank located above the stage with the precise charge kick laddered grabs. And then there was also the fact that you need to memorize all 9 of the E-tank locations, or rather, what number in the count pawn corresponds with the spike, in order to access the correct series of rooms and enter the password to get the M-tank. The M-tank is not optional. If it was optional, I would be okay with it. It would be a great idea to make the M-tank optional, especially with how difficult the final boss fight against Cutman is. But still, because of the aforementioned reasons, I can't give this a thumbs up. Second thing I have to say is in regards to the engine. Oh my goodness, this boss fight really illustrated why I hate the engine, or the different parts of the engine I dislike. I had so many issues with me getting telefragged by Yoko blocks, even though I wasn't fully inside of them. Charge Kick's air jump didn't work properly either sometimes, and sometimes it got embedded into the force beams. But enough about those rants. I still enjoy the idea behind the stage Brickman, but it's really for a particular audience who really pays attention to the stage, memorizes the codes, really likes to explore these levels like I do, and more importantly thinks of unorthodox locations for E-tanks. So that's my entire part dedicated to Hidden Treasures of the Snake King, a challenge/fortress/exploratory level. So in the next part, I'll be covering at least 5 or 6 viewer submitted levels. Well then, thanks for watching and have a nice day. Toodles!